With the first pick in the 2016 NBA Draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Ben Simmons.
Left wide open. Simmons.
He can get wherever he wants to with the basketball.
Get in there. That's
You with the LSU. Man up, man. Man up. Stop messing around. Come on now.
Do you think Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become?
Yeah, David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now.
Swear to God, he may be closer right now to Rudy Gobert than LeBron James.
To me, he needs to play more basketball. They need to trade Ben Simmons.
There's nothing more disappointing than witnessing wasted potential unfold in front of your eyes. In basketball, there's no clearer example of this than the enigma that is Ben Simmons. It feels like every season that goes by, it's another opportunity at getting better that's wasted. Simmons went from the consensus #1 pick in a stacked draft class to a player who's unplayable in the final minutes of a playoff game. He went from a max contract guy who was the savior of the Sixers to being on the trade block just 2 years later. Fans of his game ignored his obvious flaws, turning a blind eye in the multiple playoff runs where he was a non-factor on offense. Even Ben himself thought he was too good to get a jump shot. He already has a max contract. He's already a multiple-time All-Star. Who cares about shooting? He has defense. He and the fans didn't think he needed one. Now he's the most hated man in Philadelphia and will likely be shipped off in the offseason. For those reasons, Ben Simmons and his success became his own detriment. In order to truly understand this statement, we must go back. Past the playoff chokes and media scrutiny, past the All-Star appearances and high expectations, we must go back to the beginning of Ben Simmons' career, his high school days and Montverde Academy. By doing this, we'll be able to understand why he hasn't developed a jump shot. We'll also be able to see how his shooting confidence has lowered over time, and how his mindset of, "I don't need a jump shot," formed. Ben Simmons in high school was nothing short of a beast. Being born in Australia, Ben had to move into the United States to compete against players of his skill. Junior year Simmons put up 18 and 10 rebounds per night, shooting a scorching hot 69% from the field and 77% from the free throw line. The free throw shooting was of note. 77% was above the current NBA average. Ben then entered his senior year in high school. This would really be the year when he would show off his elite skills that would make him one of the most sought-after prospects in the league. He showed off his scoring ability, dropping multiple 30-point games throughout the year. Obviously, this was high school, and there's a big difference between that and the NBA. But ask yourself this: is Ben Simmons not scoring 30 points because he's not good enough? Or because he's too scared to drive to the rim, get fouled, and go to the line? Ben slowly lost his confidence over time, and it will continue to become more apparent as we continue. He competed for the McDonald's All-American, as well as earning the Naismith Prep Player of the Year, two esteemed accomplishments that pushed his draft stock higher. Ben averaged 28 points and 12 rebounds per game, with 4 assists and 2.5 steals. Simmons shooting 70% from the field established his dominance. This guy could get anywhere on the offensive end. Finishing high school, he was a 5-star recruit by ESPN, the #1 power forward and #1 player in the nation in 2015. The #1 power forward. What's interesting is that Ben plays point guard much more in the league. You gotta wonder if the sudden position change affected anything. The #1 prospect in the country didn't go to UCLA, Kentucky, or even Duke as his college. Ben chose LSU for his one-and-done year. His team didn't even make the tournament, instead finishing with an ugly 19-14 record. Ben came under criticism for this. If you're one of the best players in the country, why isn't your team in the tournament? Regardless, he had an incredible college season, with averages of 20 points and 12 rebounds on an efficient field goal percentage. To many, he was the surefire #1 pick. The Sixers took him up on this. A team that had only won 10 games the previous season drafted Ben with the #1 pick. Upon taking him, fans and the media raved about his potential, claiming how he could be the next LeBron James or Magic Johnson. Philly had been searching for a franchise player. After all, Joel Embiid was hurt. They needed somebody to come in and change the momentum of the team. He was a versatile, athletic, skilled, 6'10 monster who could handle the ball and pass unlike any other. Could Ben Simmons help Philly go from the worst team in the league one year to an up-and-coming young squad the next? It certainly started out strong. Ben was so flashy in Summer League that you'd have to wear sunglasses whenever you watched him. Get it? He's flashy. Look over here and there's a pass there. Threading the needle, alley-oops, no looks. Ben was absolutely marvelous in Summer League. This was by far the most excited Sixers fans had been in a while. Ben was a show-stopping star who made ESPN every other night. He even threw in some jump shots as well. A bunch actually, shooting mid-range shots and looking not bad doing it. Remember this, Ben looks rather aggressive with these jump shots. It was nothing magical, but still something to note compared to now when there's none of these. His Summer League showed so much potential. The playmaking, the passing, the flashiness, it was all there and made the world hyped to see what was next. Just a few months later though, Ben suffered a broken foot during practice and would be sidelined for the entire season. What would have been a thrilling time for all NBA fans was shut down and put to the side for 12 more months. So fast forward 12 months to October 2017. Ben Simmons explodes onto the scene and shows the world what he's about. Dunks, passes, triple doubles. Ben was legit and everything fans had hoped for. One more thing to note, throughout the first 15 games of his rookie year, Ben was regularly shooting mid-range shots. I mean regularly. He shot more mid-range shots in these games than at any other point in his career. Does this show that his confidence was higher at this point and then slowly got worse over time? Anyways, let's proceed. On March 15th, 2018, against the New York Knicks, Simmons recorded his second consecutive triple-double and joined Oscar Robertson and Magic Johnson as the third rookie in NBA history to reach 1,000 points, 500 rebounds, and 500 assists. He and Joel Embiid led the Sixers to the playoffs for the first time in 6 years as the third seed. Ben also winning Rookie of the Year. Some considered him one of the greatest rookies of all time. 16, 8, and 8 as an average for the year was spectacular. He led his team to a 16-game winning streak without Joel Embiid and went straight into a matchup with the Miami Heat in the first round. The playoffs were when Simmons had an opportunity to really prove himself to be a bona fide star talent, and what many forget is that in this series, Ben played well. He posted a triple-double in Game 4, the first rookie since 1980 to do so. Simmons averaged 18 and 10 rebounds, a monster start to what should be an amazing playoff run. Right? The Sixers met the Celtics in the playoffs, many believing Philly would advance, and instead, they got crushed in 5. Fellow rookie Jason Tatum thoroughly outplayed him. Ben only scored 1 point in Game 2, being clowned on social media for his no-show performance. His lack of shooting made the floor spacing unbearable. The Celtics limited his offense by sagging off of him on the offensive end. Sixers fans were worried, Ben failing like this in such a dramatic way, only averaging 14 points per game. It was alarming. However, there was still reassurance. Simmons was still very young. He had plenty of time to fix these issues. Ben entered his second season with hope. How had the young star been working on his game? In the season opener against the Celtics, he looked better against their defense, dropping 19 points. A few months later, on January 15th, Simmons became the fastest player in NBA history to reach 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 1,000 assists. He improved defensively by a large margin, going from above average to very good, but the offensive improvement was minuscule. The shooting wasn't there yet, neither was the mid-range. In fact, Ben had yet to make a three-pointer so far in his entire playing career. Once again, more people began worrying and criticizing Ben for his lack of improvement, but they were silenced as Simmons earned his first All-Star appearance. Simmons upped his stats from 16 to 17 points per game, 8 rebounds to 9, and the perimeter defense was elite. This playoff run could be an opportunity to silence the critics, and narratives immediately began unfolding in the first-round series against the Nets. Opposing player Jared Dudley called out Ben, saying he was average once he crossed half court, another testament to his lack of shooting. Ben responded with an epic 31-point, 9-rebound performance to deliver the win in Game 3. This is what fans were waiting for. Simmons had exploded and dominated the Nets. Could this be the start of something special? The Sixers ended up winning the series in 5 and played the Raptors. We all know how that series turned out. Simmons was alright. He was fine. Nothing amazing, but nothing terrible like the previous year. He had a pretty good Game 6 in that series, but still, no jump shots, not much offensive consistency. Seeing him play like he did against the Nets in that Game 3 made you hungry for more, but nothing came. It was frustrating, but since Ben was just 22 years old, we could wait for him to develop a jump shot. 2019-20. Many remember this season as being a terrible one for the Sixers. And for Ben Simmons, it started out good. 24 points on 68% shooting against Boston in the season opener was an excellent start. Not to mention a few early season three-pointers sprinkled in made you hype. But then again, why are we celebrating a third-year player finally taking threes and still shooting an ugly 62% from the free throw line? The team struggled immensely and failed to meet the expectations. The lack of spacing with Al Horford certainly didn't help. The team wasn't well constructed, so that alleviated Ben of some of the blame. In February of 2020, Simmons had a back injury and was forced to leave the game against the Bucks, being sidelined indefinitely. Fast forward to the bubble, and he returns, only to then suffer a knee injury and miss the playoffs. These unfortunate injuries prevented him from an opportunity to show what he could do in the postseason. Any questions about how he would play when the lights shine brightest were put on hold, for better or for worse. Had Ben played in these playoffs and performed badly, the narrative we're seeing now could have came a year earlier. Despite this, he earned his second All-Star appearance this season, an All-NBA third-team appearance, and a first-team All-Defense selection. Ben hater or not, you couldn't deny achieving these awards so early into your career was impressive. The thought of him even getting a jump shot was scary. He was so good at everything else. People were starting to run impatient with Ben, however. 4 years into your career and still no big jump on offense was daunting. With new general manager Daryl Morey coming in, the idea of trading Ben slowly crept into people's minds. This almost happened during the James Harden saga, where Harden requested a trade and put Philly on the list as destinations. Most believe the Sixers offered Simmons in this, but for whatever reason, the package wasn't enough. Ben was seeing his name in the headlines every day in trade rumors. You'd think this would encourage a player to fix his flaws. Ben Simmons this season was interesting. On one hand, he continued to make strides in his defensive game, coming incredibly close to winning Defensive Player of the Year. On the other hand, his offense seemed to regress. His free throw shooting got worse, his points went down. There were many instances where down the stretch late game, Ben was forgotten and hit in the corner. Either that or he was intentionally fouled by the other team because he'd most likely miss the free throws. He only hit 3 3-pointers the entire season, many giving up the idea of him ever gaining a respectable jump shot. He was so good at everything else and a continuous all-star, so in his mind, he didn't need a jumper. Either that or it's just mental at the line. Regardless, both aren't good. Most of this was ignored because the Sixers as a team had a phenomenal season, the best record in the Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid era, the #1 seed. It was finals or bust. This would be Ben's last chance to show what he's got. The #1 pick compared to LeBron, the Rookie of the Year, the multiple-time All-Star. He needed to play like a star, and this was his chance. The Sixers faced the Wizards in the first round and won in 5. But in Game 4, there were instances of hack-a-Ben, and Simmons cost them the game with his poor free throw shooting. This failure was ignored though. The Sixers won the series, so everyone quickly forgot. Then Philly squared off against the Atlanta Hawks. This could be the series where Ben shows off his lockdown defense on opposing guard Trae Young. Well, that didn't happen either. Once Simmons started guarding Young in Game 2, he was alright, but no lockdown. Trae Young averaged 30 and 10 against Philly in the series. I'm not sure if that's lockdown defense. In many of the games, the Hawks resorted to hack a Ben once more. Simmons missed key free throws in games 4, 5, 6, and 7. He said he would be more aggressive multiple times throughout post-game interviews, but only scored double digits 3 times out of 7 games. It was an utter collapse, a disappointment. Ben Simmons had failed, and the Sixers shockingly lost the series in 7. Simmons played with 2 different coaches. He's played with many different star teammates around him. He's been criticized far too often for his jump shot. Yet nothing has changed. Now he's probably on the way out and could be traded in just a few weeks. How is it that a player so destined for greatness fell so quickly? Ben stormed onto the scene his rookie year, going toe-to-toe with LeBron James and edging out Donovan Mitchell for the Rookie of the Year award. His sophomore season had him earn his first All-Star appearance, and his third year gave him an All-NBA third team award at just 23. He did all of that with no form of jump shot whatsoever. So in his mind, why does he need one? He got a max contract. He got his accolades. He has the social media clout. He can act cocky when reporters question how he'll develop a jump shot in 2019, and then 2 years later, still have no shooting. He can make a lighthearted post on Instagram joking at Sixers fans when their criticism is justified because how can he not shoot? He can do all of this because he's still achieved success. And that is how Ben Simmons' success became his own detriment.
But I still think this trade could make great sense